Thank you. All right, alrighty. Okay. Well, this is the quietest it's ever been.
That's me. That's me.
What you do?
Good evening and welcome to the City of Montgomery City Council meeting. It is 6 o'clock and we will begin this meeting. If you would please ensure that we can hear everyone speaking, to make sure your phones are on silent or vibrate so that we are not disrupted, that would be most appreciated. I'd like to note that we have a full quorum, Ms. Bevan. And with that, we would like to ask Mr. Donaldson to do the invocation, if we would all stand, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, I was reminded in 2 Chronicles 26:5 that as long as we seek you, you cause us to prosper. And I thank you, Father, and you cause us to be successful. And I thank you, Father, that's the goal of City Council, to cause the City of Montgomery to prosper and be successful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. The Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. We will begin this evening with the public forum. I have two people that would like to speak. The first one that came in is Mr. Fox. If you would please head to the podium. State your name for the record and your address, please.
Fox, 821 Stewart Street. I want to talk briefly about the item number 6 on the agenda. I've had the opportunity to look through this closely. This deals with the subdivision standards. To give you a little background, my wife insists I tell you this. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. My experience goes back to 1970, where I had affiliation with the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Administration. We built 318 houses in 18 months and was noted as setting the standard for acceptable housing in Houston. So that's where I started. And I ended after several years in the Woodlands as Director of Residential Construction Technology and in charge of their building programs in 2007. With that background, I read through this standard. I find it, some things that just really stand out. There's one that I mentioned off the top of my head. It says that the P&Z will review drainage plats from a PDF. Now, anybody who's ever reviewed a drainage plat knows that doing so off a PDF is totally impossible. So it kind of brings to mind is the people who, I know they're intended well, but it's more obvious that some of the standard was written without any experience. We've plagiarized this from some other place or whatever and came up with this. And what's scary about that is I know that uphill drainage in Montgomery has been the #1 issue of people calling here on the phone since I've been involved with the city since 2010. You know, it continues to be an issue where the developers did not identify what was going to happen downhill and provide for it. And we all suffer from it. So that part, all I'm going to ask you here is for God's sake, in this review, get those that know in a semicircle and let's sit around and review this. Don't sign to anything again until we know what we're talking about. It really concerns me. The last chapter of this in the tree preservation is just it's crazy. In my time in Houston and building in these woods, Mr. Mitchell himself just almost beat you to death if you tore down a tree. But we've tried everything to save trees, not compact. Even here in our own city, we allow weekend after weekend, we allow everybody to gather under the oak trees down at the community building and compact the slopes, and we've lost trees down there because of that. That is an issue. But unfortunately, if you're tract building, you don't have the time, the space, and the money to do that. You have to go on with the plan, tear down whatever you need to tear down, but reinvest instead of all the fencing and things that you'll be asked to do. Take that cost and put it back into putting together a quality reforestation plan when the house is finished. If y'all do any research at all into this, Texas A&M provides a lot of good information about home values. Home values at 10 years with good vegetation will far exceed the value of one with a sunny side look over the hill. So anyway, I'm asking you to kind of slow the roll down about reviewing this and make sure that we know what we're doing when we go forward with this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Elisa McCorkadell. Will you please go to the podium? State your name and address.
My name is Elisa McCorkadell, 657 and 661 Old Plantersville Road, but today I'm speaking as a business owner of Bride and Bloom, 21123 Eva Street, Suite 100. I come to you tonight to publicly report what I believe to be retaliation against me as a business owner in the city. Many of you have the handout that I prepared, but I want to highlight bits of it for the record and for those who might be watching remotely. On January 31st, Mayor Countryman posted on Facebook many things that had been happening throughout the prior week. On Thursday, it reads, I hosted State of the City meeting where all downtown businesses were invited to hear how the city is working for them, etc. I commented, how were business owners notified of the State of the City meeting? I don't recall Bride and Bloom getting an invitation. We had some back and forth. Elisa, an email was sent out from City Hall. I'll follow up. Then she says, Elisa, what's your email address? City Hall doesn't have it, and that's why you didn't get the invite, etc. I said, I received all emails from Gary Palmer, and I still receive emails from the event coordinator, so this is very odd. Ms. Countryman says, I checked with her before responding to this message, and she stated she didn't have an email address for you. I'm assuming she is Stephanie Johnson. So I go to my email inbox because I'm thinking, I know I'm not crazy. And sure enough, there is, when I searched for City of Montgomery, several emails came up from the city. And the last one was on November 26th, 2024 from Stephanie Johnson. So the facts here are my husband, David McCorkadell, was fired by this council on November 18th. And a lawsuit was filed by my husband, David McCorkadell, against the city on November 28th. And the last correspondence I received as a business owner from the city was November 26th. I spoke with my IT guy today and asked him how all of that would transpire if I wasn't just manually removed. And he told me unless the city changed email carriers and lost all email addresses, my email address would have had to be manually and intentionally removed from the email list. I'm going to allow you all to make your own conclusions about what happened here. I am not here tonight asking you to promote my business. I'm not asking you to support my business, but rather for you not to make it more difficult for me to do business in this town. We have to coexist. Y'all need to do better.
Typically, we don't respond to that, but I am going to take a moment and respond to you. I did ask Stephanie Johnson. She has very limited information from the previous city coordinator, the events coordinator, and she was going off of that list. She was brand new, And she may have sent you, but it may have been a different list. And I did call her, and she did state she did not have your email address. All of that is fact and truth.
I'm going
So-
to, point of order, Mayor.
Yeah, well, I'm just,
We don't reply.
we can, because I want on the record
Yeah.
that I did do what
Point of order.
I stated I
And you do
did.
see the copy
So,
of
and
my
I'm going to
inbox
report
where I
over.
have an email from
I
Stephanie
do,
Johnson.
but I don't know what list that was pulled from. So, okay, we'll move on. Next,
Thank you.
consent agenda, item number 4. Consideration and possible action on the City Council workshop meeting minutes of January 13th, 2025. Number 5, consideration and possible action to close Jacobs Properties parking lot for the Montgomery Mardi Gras special event for March 1st, 2025. Number 6, consideration and possible action to call a public hearing concerning proposed amendments to Chapter 78, subdivisions of the Montgomery City Code. Said hearing to be held on February 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Montgomery City Hall. Council, would you like to take these cumulatively or independently?
I have one question on item number 6, and other than that, I'm fine with the other 2.
I also have a question about number 6,
Okay.
but I'm okay with it, but
Would y'all like to ask your questions and then go cumulatively?
my question, Carol, you want to go first?
I can, mine's real simple. When we hold the hearing on February the 25th at our next city council meeting, will I get any updates on this amendment beforehand? Because I don't know that I have.
Are we talking about the amendments from KKC?
I'm not sure who
Because
we're
it's
talking
78,
about.
so that's what we're talking about. Yes, yes. We'll get you some updates.
Okay, that's what I need. Thank you.
My question would be primarily on the 78, the subdivisions. I have requested, and I have some printed out what was said, because I didn't quite understand it when we were at the meeting, and actually Casey and Carol were not able to make that meeting due to work. But hopefully we'll have a lot more discussions, even during the public speaking, because I find it very confusing and hard to digest everything that's in there, because it's fairly long. And I want to make sure that we have good ordinances versus ordinances that we can't enforce. But that's it.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agendas items 4, 5, and 6 as presented.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Ms. Fox, that we accept the consent agenda as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we'll accept the consent agenda as presented. All right, next item on your agenda, public hearing. The City Council will receive comments from the public on the below listed items. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Persons wishing to speak during the public hearing portion of the meeting must sign in to participate prior to the meeting being called to order. Number 7 on your agenda, conduct a public hearing concerning a petition for voluntary annexation filed by Tri-Point Homes, Texas, Inc. It is 6:13 p.m. and we will enter into public hearing. All right, with that, it's 6:13 p.m. and we will close the public hearing. Regular agenda. Item number 8, consideration and possible action on the first and only reading of an ordinance of the City of Montgomery, Texas, adopting the annexation of certain territory located in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the City of Montgomery, Texas, to wit, a tract or parcel containing 32.24 acres or 1,404,464 square feet of land situated in the Benjamin Rigsby League Abstract Number 31, Montgomery County, Texas, being part of and out of the residue of a called 94.889 acre tract of land described in deed to Norman R. Stewart Jr. and wife Jennifer H. Stewart, as recorded under Montgomery County Clerk's File, MCCF number 9357628, and part of and out of a call 67.820 acre tract of land described in deed to CMC Partnership Limited, as recorded under MCCF the number 2022130572, and being more particularly described by meets and bounds depicted in Exhibit A, providing for incorporation of premises, amending of the official city map, and acknowledging a service plan requiring and filing of this ordinance with the county clerk, prescribing for effect on territory, granting as appropriate to all the inhabitants of said property all rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding said inhabitants by all of the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of the city of Montgomery, Texas, providing cumulatively pillar, severability, and savings clauses, providing for engrossment and enrollment, and providing for an effective date. Council?
What'd you say?
Can you,
Can you repeat that?
I didn't quite understand this one word.
So just to elaborate, that's
Yes.
the piece of land for Tri Point that we just held the public hearing for. That's just the annexation wordage. So I make a recommendation, or excuse me, I make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented.
Motion by Mr. Olson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Donaldson, to accept number 8 as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion.
I just wanted to state for the record, this is proposed ordinance number 2025-03.
Can we do this by majority, or does it have to be recorded anonymous?
It's actually recorded.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
I'm sorry, are you saying that I misstated? I don't see those numbers on them.
No, I'm telling you what the assigned or ordinance number will be for
Okay,
this.
okay, thank
At the
you.
moment, until it's adopted, it's a proposed
Right,
number.
okay, I thought you were referencing this other number. Okay,
So it takes a recorded vote, you have to call us.
Okay.
all right. Carol, what is your vote?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes?
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
All right. It has been adopted. Number 9 on your agenda. Consideration and possible action regarding adoption of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, consenting to the creation of Montgomery County Municipal Utility District Number 255 in Montgomery County, Texas, and establishing conditions applicable to the creation of the district.
So which MUD is this? Is this for?
Tri-Point.
What is it for Tri-Point?
Same
Okay.
same development.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have any other MUDs in the city?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
About 5.
Very
4,
similar to
5.
the Redbird
Yeah.
that we did in the Pulte homes. Exact same process.
Town Creek Crossing.
For the record, this is proposed resolution number 2025-05.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
Motion by Mr. Olson,
Second.
second by Mr. Donaldson, and we accept the resolution as presented. This motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of adopting the resolution as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the resolution as presented. Item number 10 on your agenda. Consideration and possible action on approving a new HR and AP specialist position. Chief Solomon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Come to you today here. During my time as interim, I took an assessment of what we were doing, took an assessment of each department. We looked at HR, we looked at, we've got at least 8 or 9 files that are missing. We've got other files that things are missing from those files. We looked at finance, and we looked at some of the things that we were doing in finance. Some of the things that, like the escrow management accounts, the 380 agreement and the tracking management, those systems were lost at a point to where now they're going to have to be reprocessed, be redone. So we looked at some of the invoices, the coding of the capital instruction and projects, and the engineering invoices, along with legal invoices. Those things have been behind, been way behind for a very, very long time. So catching up with those things, and we started to process each department. We looked at P&Z and looked at the way that they can start reprocessing the way they do things with P&Z. We came up with some new procedures on how to make those things work. And then last, we looked at permits. We looked at the permits. This city, last year at this time, we did 117 permits. To date, we're at 238, which means it's getting more and more permits each time. With more and more businesses and with more and more subdivisions that are being built, we're getting permits. And permit tech has to take time to take care of those permits. So we've looked at all those, and we've looked at coming up with a position that could handle both the help we need in HR, the help we need in finance, and also the help we need here up in the front office and the utilities with this position here. We've got a position of an assistant city administrator that is never going to be filled again. You guys, that's not a position that you want. We would like to use these funds, some of these funds, to fund a position that would help us to carry out the things that we need in each one of these divisions. We took a very long, hard look at this before coming to you guys because I wasn't in this position a year ago, but I know we came to you a couple of years ago and last year with this position. This position is very much needed to help us to continue to get great hands. So we're asking you to approve this position.
Absolutely.
Chief, is
Where,
this one person?
One person,
Internally or externally?
internally.
How did you decide to combine HR and the AP position, which is accounts payable, I'm assuming?
What we did was,
And put it under city secretary?
what we did here, we looked at the HR. We also looked at financing. Financing right now, we have one person that understands how to do payroll. That one person in a couple of months is going to be going to Europe for two to 3 weeks. And so we need to get somebody in here that we can get trained. So we look to combine that position, and we look to get somebody in here that could handle each of those positions as that department needs them. And so that's why we decided to go in on that here.
So if I can comment on this, so this is a position that I've wanted since I got elected. I've been pushing for an HR position, it's something we direly need. In a traditional corporate structure, payroll is handled by HR.
Okay.
where is the report on, that we've been waiting for?
The
That tells
commission.
us
Evergreen Solutions.
so that
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
when we could go to the budget workshops, that we would know what new positions we wanted to fill. I'm not comfortable tonight voting on this at all.
Yeah, I would like to see that also.
So do you know where that report is?
Now, which report are you looking for?
It's called
The Evergreen
Comp study.
Comp study.
The comp study is not back from Evergreen yet. And when we're looking at a comp study, that comp study also is going to look at the positions that we have now and says that this position here should be at this point right here. So it's not just necessarily going to be looking at any new positions that we want. This is a position that's very much needed now. So yeah, that comp study will mainly tell us about, okay, you've got a guy who's been at this position for 6 years. When you look around the industry, this is what this person is making at this particular time.
Absolutely, Chief, and I totally understand that, but from a budgetary standpoint, we need to know where we're gonna land come summertime when we go to do our budget. So I'm with Carol and whoever else wants to agree that we'd like to know, give us an idea of how much money we have right at this moment, so we don't overextend ourselves when we do the budget, right?
But if we've eliminated that six-figure position, and this is not a
But
six-figure
we don't know how much
position.
of that six-figure
But
position we're
we're
gonna eat
gonna
up to
need-
compensate for our comp
When
study.
you say at this moment.
It's already
this-
been spent
this is
though,
the
right?
position
Oh, I know what you're
that
saying. It's
starts-
budgeted for
That starts
this
in a
year.
range of 52 to 62.
And Chief, to support this, we've talked about redundancy. we seem, currently today, we have people that do their job and they're the only people that know how to do their job. And so in having that redundancy, do you have a secondary and even potentially a third person to kind of know what's going on should that person
But it's
not
kind
be
of
here?
what we just talked about, it's with the
Yeah,
payroll.
it's just be gone, yeah.
It's with the payroll. There's a lot of things that we looked at cleaning up. There's a lot of things that needs cleaning up. But there's also some things that needs to be done constantly to keep it on track. And this is where this position will come in, doing that. I understand when you talk about budget, but that's why we're asking you with the position that's not funded at this time to use those funds for that position, for this position.
Chief, it says that the assistant city administrator is vacant at this point. I thought it was totally deleted at this point.
It's deleted. And that's a position that you were talking about, that was a six-figure position.
So it's not a vacant position.
It's not a vacant position, it's a position that's been eliminated by council.
Right, so let me elaborate, just why they kind of reference it that way is because it's budgeted as that position, it's budgeted in. So until we get to our new budget and we take it out, it's gonna be listed in there. Yes, we've all voted, agreed that we don't want that position, but when our new budget comes out, that position will no longer have a budget for it, so it'll go away, right?
And the next thing is, I didn't understand exactly why the accounts payable would not be actually reporting to Mary Ann, to the finance person,
The accounts payable, reporting to
not to the finance
Director.
the finance director. Most of the time, all that falls under
HR.
Under the HR. We've not had a standard HR here at any point. And folks, I tell you, you got to look from where we're at, when we're looking at a day-to-day process and how that day-to-day process is working and how that day-to-day process is keeping us behind. Well, I won't say keeping us behind, but it keeps us doing things that we need to have that person moving on to something else. And this is where a position like this comes into play.
So we're saying, Casey, that if we approve this position tonight, we have to do a budget amendment to put the money in the budget?
Well, we would have to move it because we can't call them our HR specialist, our assistant city administrator. So Mary Ann would have to move it over for this position.
But is that an issue? I mean,
No, it's
No, it's not an addition.
It's just,
I mean, I thought,
Formality.
I think
It's
we
the money
need to.
it's the money that's there now that's not been used since those vacancies.
Yeah.
The city administrator and the assistant city administrator.
Where did this job description or these essential duties and responsibilities come from for
Beg pardon?
each one of these
Yeah.
people?
Some of these are the ones that we created for this position, and we put it together according to the national skills of what a person in this position needed to have, and what we needed here as a city from this person.
And the price that you came up with, do you know where you got that from?
The price, when we looked at the prices of this, we're talking about somebody who's HR, so we looked at people that would be assisting with HR. If that person's moved to that position as HR and also as finance and also covering our utility window here, we looked at the process of where that person was, how that person was paid. And so that range went from 52 to 62, so it'll fall somewhere in the middle of that.
So having to watch the front window, that's that last one that says perform other duties as assigned?
Yes.
Including special assignments?
Yes, because as we
Work in
stated.
other functional areas to
Yes, ma'am.
cover absences?
Right.
Or relief?
Yes, ma'am, because as we stated.
So do you know how much this position would be at that front window? Instead of being able to do the HR and the AP that you're saying
And those-
that we really need?
And those are the things that, because what we've got up here now, we've got a temp lady. We also have a permits person up here that's working the window. I went in there, and that's why I looked at this. I went in there myself to see how this worked, to see how they work. When they're doing permits, it's almost hard to get to the window, especially you've got a temp person who leaves at 2 o'clock. in the afternoon. And then you got people coming in. So I took a look at this, and when our permits person, and her job is increasing with permits, it makes it harder. So this is where that person, so when you're talking, when they're going in there, you're talking about, this is only gonna be probably about 15% of their job.
And what are we paying the temp person now? Do you know the price
No.
we're paying
We have
the
idea what
temp
we're paying the
person?
temp person?
That 10%, her wage is $18 an hour. Of course, we pay more than that for the temp
Right,
agent.
what's the
Yeah.
contract, right?
That's close to $1,000 a week, I think.
So-
And that's all the hours that she can work?
Those are the hours that she works. I think a couple, maybe a month ago, she came in 3 days for about an 8-hour span. But when you're looking at a day-to-day process, folks, trust me, the position is needed. It's needed.
Well, I see how hard everybody here is working, especially since the changes, and it was a mess, and you have straightened out a lot, and your recommendation, I value it, and I see how much Mary Ann is tied to her desk too, and HR was an area that we were lacking here. And so, for what it's worth, I'm in support of this. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah. I make a motion that we approve the HR and AP specialist position as stated.
Moved by Mr. Donaldson,
A second?
second by Mr. Olson, that we approve the new HR and AP specialist position as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. Further discussion?
Oh, I do have some discussion.
Okay.
Before we move on with the vote, the experience, if we're gonna hire an HR person, we want someone who has HR experience.
Yes.
right? So, I have 2 daughters, both going to school to be HR. It's not an easy course.
Absolutely not.
Right? So, it's something that we have the education or experience to be diploma or GED. And then the experience is kind of low. So if we're gonna go low on the degree, then we gotta go high on the experience,
Okay.
right?
And that's what we were looking at, because we looked at other cities and other areas who had HR persons, and then they had an HR assistant, and where those HR assistants landing at when it comes to education.
Right, but we're not hiring an assistant.
No, we're not hiring an assistant, but when I say, but when we bring somebody in here, we want them to have some type of HR.
Yeah.
Because we can teach them payroll, we can teach them utility, but they need to have, they need to have some type of HR.
Not a problem.
That's my one thing.
Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of accepting the HR and AP specialist position as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will approve the HR and AP specialist position as presented.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next on your agenda is executive session, number 11, closed session. City Council will meet in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in A, 551.072, deliberations about real property concerning potential sale of city property. With that, it is 6:33, and we will head into executive session. Thank you. I don't know. All right, it is 7:08, and we are back in session. Open session, item number 12. City Council will reconvene in open session, at which time action on the matters discussed in closed session may be considered. A, 551.072, deliberations about real property concerning potential sale of city property.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of intent and authorize the city attorney to negotiate the purchase agreement.
A second?
It's been moved and seconded that we authorize the city attorney to move forward regarding the letter of intent. This motion is debatable and amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of authorizing the city attorney to move forward and negotiating for this real property, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Next item on your agenda, council inquiry. So I do have something for council inquiry. I received a call from the HOA president of Town Creek Village. We won't take in their streets until Suddenly comes out and removes their few inches of wire or cabling that's gone into their drainage. He's called and called and called, and they've made appointments with him, and nobody has shown up. He was wondering so a couple of things. He said, Sarah, it's not even under one of the roads. It's 23 feet away from a road. And it's 2 to 3 feet down, he said. And he said he wanted to know if we could still take in the roads and help him, maybe via our attorneys, send a letter to Suddenlink to get their attention because they're not responding and they're standing him up. And he said too, I would be willing for the HOA to be in like a 10-year agreement that if anything were to happen, that these cables cause something, that the HOA would pay for the remediation and not the city. Or would we be open to allowing them to hire someone to patch it? Because basically, he thinks you can pull up the cable and there's probably enough slack to pull it out and then patch over the culvert or pipe.
So that's a question for Chris on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm throwing it out there because it's holding up us taking them in, and we voted on that almost a year ago. So, and again, it's not affecting any of the roads.
Chris, that's corrugated pipe, right?
I think it is.
Corrugated plastic.
There's a lot of corrugated plastic out there, and I'm pretty sure that's where the.
I think it is in
Yeah,
both
we're-
pictures.
Through the pictures.
Right.
Structurally, it's been, its integrity's obviously got a hole put
8
on
years.
top of it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
will a patch work?
they can patch it, or, it's plastic pipe, so just cutting out a section and replacing it with couples on the ends, that way you don't have the patch sitting on top. I don't think, you're not talking a large expense that way. But to answer your question, we can take a look and get with staff on kind of where it actually stands and see what it takes to move it forward and come up with options.
As you can imagine, he's getting beat up by the homeowners going, when is this, when? And, they've been waiting for years before it even got to council, without council's knowledge there was even a desire. So whatever we could do to speed up the process, that would be great.
We'll-
Or get help with Suddenlink. Yeah. Okay. Also, I held a mayor's roundtable here. There were 13 different cities invited. 6 or 7 showed up, which was great, and got some great ideas. The trash idea of having community trash, actually has been happening in other cities, and it's been successful. So having locations at the city, all the businesses take their trash to a specified location instead of having all those green cans out on the road. I've taken some pictures as of late, and it's atrocious. Makes the city look really tired. So that was good.
Does the cities pay for those?
The city would pay, but we would reimburse. They would pay on with their water bill, however many businesses divided by what that cost is. We don't pay.
So we would
but
do away
We
with-
would pay, but it's just like today.
We'd do away with dumpsters too?
It would be probably dumpsters or bins that we would have to have maybe fencing around, and like the decorative fencing, green fencing, whatever that is. And then they would the businesses would take their trash to those. And instead of 1 day a week service, 2 day a week service. And then they all split the cost.
But originally, the city would actually install what it is that we would use for the containers.
I don't think so. I think that they would want to install it. I don't know that I don't know that. We haven't gotten that far.
Oh, that's what I was
Just,
asking.
yeah, so
Okay.
I just know that if y'all are interested, if y'all think that's a great idea, Waste Management's happy to start moving forward and getting an understanding of everybody's trash and doing the mathematics on what's the capacity.
And then how would we make the business owners who have containers or, what do you call them?
A bin,
The
I don't know.
big ugly ones on
Yeah.
49.
Yeah, well, we could, so in that one, I saw a new, we're Waste Management, but Republic Services, looks like it was servicing
How
that
can we
one.
make the ones who already have dumpsters?
Well, I think that we're an ordinance or
Yeah, we would
historical.
have to pass an ordinance.
Yep, because we want you to
That
be able
does
to use
include the
these
city
instead of
community
a
building, too.
secondary. So, yeah, so, and then
The
also,
downtown's opinion before we move it on.
oh, absolutely, yeah, I've talked to them. So they was at one of those meetings and I've talked to the mayors and then I talked to some downtown businesses and everybody is open to looking at what it would cost and what that looks like. So I think it's that's the first people I'm gonna go to because I'm
It's
interested.
only
So before
actually
we go
that I'm
looking
aware
at
of only
ordinances
two
and stuff.
dumpsters.
No, I wasn't
Yeah.
saying an ordinance for that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that it would make sure they would want to do that. And
And as far
everybody
as I
seems
know, there's
interested.
only 2 sets of dumpsters in downtown anyway,
Yeah.
that it would probably apply to, and that's the city and to
Yes, in a restaurant.
Well, I think some of the restaurants would be, or at least one of them would be very happy for the opportunity to have a place to dump their trash.
Well, and they do, they partnered with another place and they're using that. But again, I think that we can come up with something that would be much more aesthetically pleasing and cleaner
No,
than
I
what we
agree.
have today.
and less smelly.
Yes, yeah, so.
Cool.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you for having that meeting with the others.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. There's some other ideas, but I won't bore you. All right. With that, closing agenda, item number 13, items to consider for placement on future agendas. Trash survey. All right, item number 14, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Olson? Second. It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. It is 7:16. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will adjourn. Thank you.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Yeah.
So we were,
Like
Jeff and Bill,
big fan of sound things.
so could I